You came here with a dream. You will leave with an engine. Now, go build your engine. If something inside you shifted while listening to this, if you felt that quiet click of recognition, that knot of fear in your own stomach, then this was for you. But feeling is fleeting. Action is what matters. The book you can get today contains something we couldn't include in the audio: the one-page Brutal Plan Scorecard. It's a simple diagnostic tool that lets you score any business idea against the 5 most common fatal flaws. It will tell you in under 10 minutes if your dream has a fighting chance. The link is the first one in the description below this video. That spark you feel right now is fragile. Tomorrow, the world will try to extinguish it with distractions and doubts. Tonight, you give it armor. Thank you for listening. Not wet rot. The smell of old paper and new ideas. I bought a book. I got to talking with the owner, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and ink on her fingers. She told me about the brutal first 2 years, how she almost gave up a dozen times, how the competition from Amazon was a monster at the door. And then she said something that made the hair on my arm stand up. She leaned closer and said, "You know, living by the numbers in our business plan, updating that cash flow every single week, it was the only thing that got us through." She didn't know who I was. She didn't know she was standing on the graveyard of my first dream. But she knew the truth. The plan isn't a document you write to get a check. It's the map you follow through the wilderness. It's the anchor in the storm. It is the quiet promise you make to yourself again and again that this time you will not fail. She had the confidence and the documentation to secure a loan for a second location. The scent of fresh bread, which had once become the smell of anxiety for her, was now the scent of success. Her plan wasn't a literary masterpiece. It was a simple, honest, powerful weapon, and it saved her. We love the myth of the napkin idea, the sudden spark of genius, the founder who wings it and wins. It is a destructive lie. The real work is quiet. It's methodical. It happens on a spreadsheet in a silent room at 2 in the morning. It's the unglamorous, unseen architecture of every single durable success you have ever admired. A few months ago, I went back to Portland. I found myself standing on that same stretch of sidewalk, where my coffee shop used to be, where the plywood used to be. It's a bookstore now, a thriving, beautiful, independent bookstore. I went inside. The smell hit me first. They appreciate the elegance of a precise number far more than the emptiness of a superlative. Let me tell you about Maria, a baker from Denver. When I met her, her passion was sourdough. Her reality was impending bankruptcy. Her enemy wasn't a lack of customers. They lined up for her bread. Her enemy was paperwork. Her financials were a shoebox full of tear-stained, crumpled receipts. She was drowned in the details. She was losing her dream a little bit each day. Her stakes were her family home, her kids' future. Together, we built a plan, not a 50-page novel, a 3-page plan. A simple 1-page cash flow forecast was at its heart. We identified her most profitable product, the large sourdough bowl. We clarified her real costs. We replaced her fear with facts. A year later, she wasn't just solvent. Never use jargon when plain English works better. The person reading your plan is busy. They are tired. They are skeptical. Do not make them work to understand you. Short sentences, 1 idea per line. The second rule is brevity. Your plan should be as long as it needs to be and not 1 page longer. If you're asking for $500 for a market stall, a single page is enough. If you're asking for $500,000 for a factory, you'll need more detail. Always, always respect your reader's time. The final rule is truth. Aim for brutal honesty. Exaggerated claims are the mark of an amateur. They make you look desperate. Don't say your software is the best. Prove it. Show a chart comparing its features to your competitors. Don't say your market is huge. Quantify it. Your audience is numerate. And in that negotiation, your only goal is to get a lengthy holiday period, a grace period before you have to start making repayments. That gives you breathing room. It lets you get paid before the bank comes for its pound of flesh. Knowing the difference isn't just good business, it's the key to your freedom. It's the difference between building a business and digging a hole so deep you can never climb out. Trust me, I know what the darkness at the bottom of that hole feels like. Chapter 6. The title of this chapter is The Scent of Sourdough. Now you know the pieces, the weapon, the offensive, the respirator. You know the traps, but how do you put it all together? How do you present it so that the person reading it feels your passion but trusts your logic? The first rule is clarity. Be ruthless with your words. Never use a long word when a short one will do. Let's say you're starting a plumbing business. You need $5,000 for a good set of tools and a used van. You do a job, the customer pays you cash. Your bank balance will likely be positive in just a few months. For you, a long-term loan is a terrible idea. You'd be chained to interest payments for years. The smart play is a simple bank overdraft. You use what you need, you pay it back the moment you can. You cut the chain. But what if you're a manufacturer? You land a huge contract with a big retailer. Fantastic. But they won't pay you for 90 days after you deliver the product. In the meantime, you have to pay your staff. You have to buy raw materials. That money you need to bridge the gap is called working capital. For that, you absolutely need a long-term loan. I was left with a garage full of 4,788 unsold shirts, a 10-ton monument to my own hubris. For years, I couldn't even look at it. It was a physical manifestation of my failure. And then the call started. It's a specific kind of voice, a debt collector. It's not angry. It's worse. It's calm, patient, inhumanly reasonable. A man named Frank would call me every Tuesday morning. "Good morning, Edward," he'd say, "just calling about the outstanding balance." It was never a threat. It was a simple, soul-crushing reminder that I was trapped. That shadow, the debt collector's shadow, hung over my life for 2 years. It poisoned everything. Poor borrowing decisions have sunk more dreams than bad ideas ever will. But you can avoid this. You can avoid Frank. You have to understand what type of borrowing your business actually requires. This time, I was so sure I had it figured out. I had my brutal 2-sentence weapon. I did the market research. My cash flow forecast was a work of art, a realistic, numbers-driven masterpiece. I was not going to make the same mistake twice. I made a completely new one. I got the market analysis dead wrong. I didn't lie with numbers. I lied to myself with passion. I fell in love with my own designs. I was so convinced of their brilliance, I assumed everyone else would be too. I bypassed the hard work of testing the market because deep down, I was afraid the market would tell me I was wrong. So I borrowed $20,000 and I ordered 5,000 t-shirts. They arrived on a pallet, 10 huge cardboard boxes. I can still remember the smell of the ink and the fresh cotton, the thrill of it. My new dream stacked to the ceiling of my garage. I sold 212 shirts. Your conversion rate. Of all the people who visit your website, what percentage actually does the thing you want them to do? Buy something? Sign up for your newsletter? Book a call? That single number tells an investor whether your website is a real business asset or just an online brochure. You don't have to be a tech genius to find this data. It's all there, in your website's analytics dashboard. You just have to have the courage to look, to face the truth of what the numbers are telling you. Because your digital ghost is real. It's walking around the internet right now, telling a story about your business. You need to make sure it's telling the story you want. Chapter 5. The title of this chapter is The Debt Collector's Shadow. After the coffee shop failed, I was broken, but I wasn't dead. A year later, I started a second venture, a niche t-shirt company. And again, it needs to talk in numbers, not adjectives. An investor doesn't care that it's elegant or user-friendly. They want to see the data from your digital ghost. First, your traffic. How many unique visitors does your site get each month? And how many of those are repeat visitors coming back for more? This tells the story of your relevance. Second, your sources. How do those visitors find you? Are they typing your name into Google, clicking a link on Instagram, coming from a referral on another blog? This tells the story of your marketing. Third, your bounce rate. This is a brutal metric. It's the percentage of visitors who land on one page of your site and leave immediately. A high bounce rate means your digital storefront has a broken window or a bad smell. Something is driving people away. You need to know what it is. And finally, the only number that truly matters. Function must always come before form. A pretty website that doesn't make you money is just an expensive digital paperweight. The second trap is the proprietary prison. You hire a web developer who builds your site using their own special custom code. It looks fantastic. It works perfectly. Until you need to change one tiny thing. Update your hours. Add a new product. Then you discover you're a hostage. You can't do it yourself. You have to go back to them. And they charge you $150 an hour and take 3 weeks to make a 5-minute change. But the most common mistake of all is doing nothing. Being so paralyzed by the fear of making those mistakes that you put off getting online at all. In today's economy, that is a death sentence. If you already have a website, your business plan needs to talk about it. It's easy to forget how new all of this is. The internet, the smartphone in your pocket, this digital world we all live in. We are the first generation of humans to build lives and businesses in this space, and we are all just making it up as we go along. For every online success story you see, there are 1,000 digital ghosts, businesses that flickered online for a year or two and then vanished without a trace. They made fatal, predictable mistakes. How do you prove to an investor and to yourself that you won't become one of them? You start by showing you understand the common traps. The first is what I call the pretty website fallacy. You pay a designer $5,000 for a beautiful, award-winning website before you even know what that website needs to do. Does it need to process complex payments? Does it need to be a booking system, a portfolio, a simple blog? Maybe a refurbished one would do for the first year. That big advertising budget? You see it in black and white, and you realize you need a cheaper, smarter way to find your first customers. It transforms your abstract dreams into concrete, costed-out decisions. I'm telling you, you need to make 3 versions of this forecast. First, an optimistic one, where everything goes right. Second, a pessimistic one, your worst-case scenario. And finally, the most important one, the realistic one. Yes, it takes a few hours, but those few hours are the cheapest insurance you will ever buy. Those few hours could be the difference between success and a boarded-up storefront with your landlord's pitying sigh echoing in your ears. Your passion is the fuel. This spreadsheet is the engine. You cannot have one without the other. Chapter 4. The title of this chapter is Your Digital Ghost. Your cash flow forecast is the most powerful truth-telling device you have, and it's so simple. It is just a prediction, month by month for at least 1 year, of the money coming in and the money going out. 1 column for January, 1 for February, and so on. In each column, you list every single dollar you expect to receive from sales. Then, right below it, you list every dollar that will go out. Rent, supplies, your salary, the salary of your first hire, software subscriptions, insurance, coffee for the office, everything. The difference between what comes in and what goes out is your monthly cash flow. The running total at the bottom is your closing bank balance. Doing this exercise does more than create a document for a bank. It forces you to confront reality. It's a merciless editor. Suddenly, that beautiful, expensive espresso machine doesn't seem so essential. It does not matter how many 5-star reviews you have. It does not matter how much your customers love you. It does not matter if you are on the verge of a breakthrough. No cash, no business. Period. There's a secret power in this document you need to understand. Researchers at the Stanford Neuroeconomics Lab discovered something they call numerical bypassing. When our brains read descriptive, poetic language like, "Our coffee is a rich, transformative experience," our prefrontal cortex lights up. That's the skeptical part of our brain, the storyteller's critic. It analyzes, it questions, it looks for the catch. But when the brain sees concrete figures, like a 42% gross profit margin, it bypasses that skeptical region entirely. The numbers go straight to the brain's logic and reward centers. Eloquence is subjective. Numbers feel like truth. It's a complex, competitive puzzle, and data is the only way you solve it. You don't have to be a mathematician. You just have to be a detective. The clues are out there. Find them. Chapter 3. The title of this chapter is The Spreadsheet is Your Respirator. Preparing a Cash Flow Forecast. For most creative people, those 4 words trigger a specific kind of dread. It feels like homework. It feels like accounting. It feels like the opposite of the glorious, world-changing dream that got you started in the first place. I get it, but you need to understand something right now. This document, this simple spreadsheet, is the single most vital organ in your entire business plan. It is the heart, the lungs, the central nervous system. More accurately, it is the respirator. Because the moment you run out of cash, your business is pronounced dead. Instantly. You need to answer the questions that prove you've done the reconnaissance. How many people, aged 25 to 45, with a household income over $80,000 live within a 5-mile radius of your proposed studio? That's your total addressable market. How many of them currently belong to a gym or another studio? That's your competition. How many cars drive past that specific storefront between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. on a weeknight? That's your visibility. Of those people, what percentage do you need to sign up for a monthly membership just to cover your rent, your utilities, and your own salary? That is your break-even number. If you don't know these numbers, you are not a general planning a campaign. You are a tourist wandering onto a battlefield hoping you don't step on a mine. Your market isn't a vague, smiling audience waiting to applaud you. With it, she showed in stark, undeniable visual terms that the blue wedges, the deaths from preventable diseases contracted in the hospital, were monstrously larger than the red wedges of battlefield wounds. She didn't write a poem about suffering. She gave them a color-coded diagram of death. She didn't just ask for money. She proved with numbers that their incompetence was costing them their army. Parliament couldn't argue. They couldn't ignore the data. They funded the reforms. She saved thousands of lives. Florence Nightingale didn't launch a compassion offensive. She launched the Nightingale Offensive, a data-driven attack on a stupid problem. Your market analysis must be your Nightingale Offensive. Investors don't fund ideas. They find access to markets. Your plan can't just say, "It's a good location for a yoga studio." That's a prayer. You need to become a data strategist. The real Florence Nightingale was not a saint. She was a data strategist, a warrior who wielded statistics like a broadsword. She arrived in the Crimea to find British soldiers dying in droves. But they weren't being killed by Russian bullets. They were being killed by filth, by dysentery, cholera, typhus, in their own squalid hospitals. Her pleas for better sanitation, for basic hygiene, were ignored by the arrogant military brass. They saw her as a hysterical woman. Empathy wasn't working, so she stopped appealing to their hearts. She attacked their brains. She gathered data meticulously. She tracked mortality rates, causes of death, sanitation conditions. And then she invented a new kind of weapon, a chart. A diagram we now call the polar area diagram. It looked like a multicolored rose. We are a subscription-based mobile grooming service for large breed dogs in suburban Denver. We need $75,000 for a customized van, initial grooming supplies, and a 6-month local marketing campaign. See? It's brutal. It's clear. There's nowhere to hide. An investor reads that and knows exactly what you want. They know you're serious. This 2-sentence weapon cuts through all the noise. It's the first and most important piece of your plan. If you can't state your case this clearly, you don't have a plan. You have a wish. Chapter 2. The title of this chapter is The Nightingale Offensive. When you think of Florence Nightingale, what do you see? A painting, probably. The Lady with the Lamp, a serene, almost angelic figure gliding through dark, quiet hospital wards. A symbol of compassion. That story is a lie, a comforting, beautiful lie. Then I asked her one question. I said, "Chloe, what's your customer acquisition cost?" She froze. The fire in her eyes sputtered. Just a flicker of confusion, then panic. She had the dream. She didn't have the engine. Her dream was going to die, just like mine did. It wasn't her fault. Nobody tells you this. Nobody tells you the poetry doesn't matter if the math is wrong. So let's build your engine. Let's forge your weapon. It starts with 2 sentences. That's it. This is your opening statement. It's not a mission. It's an invoice for reality. Sentence 1, what your business is. Sentence 2, how much money you need and what specifically that money is for. No jargon, no vision statements about changing the world, just the facts. You think you have a great idea for a mobile dog grooming service? Great. Here's your opening statement. He just looked at my worn-out shoes and shook his head with a sigh that said, "Another one?" That sigh is the sound I hear. That pity is the ghost in this scene. Inside my head, a single thought repeats itself, a stupid, useless mantra. But it was a 50-page plan. It was beautiful. It was a work of art. And it was utterly useless. Because a business plan isn't art. It's a weapon. And if you're going to war, you don't bring a painting. Last year, I sat in a cafe in Austin, the complete opposite of that rainy street. The air was buzzing, the smell of burnt sugar and dark roast. The barista, a woman named Chloe with fire in her eyes, was pulling a perfect espresso shot with one hand and sketching an idea on a napkin for me with the other. A revolutionary coffee subscription service. Her idea was brilliant. Her energy was the fuel. She had the passion. She was me 5 years earlier. Welcome to The Brutal Plan. Chapter 1. The title of this chapter is The 2-Sentence Weapon. Let's go back to the moment it all ended for me. Portland. A Tuesday in November. The kind of day where the sky is the color of a dirty nickel and the rain never quite stops. I'm standing across the street from what used to be my coffee shop, my dream. There's plywood over the windows now, scarred with graffiti. The sign is gone. I can still smell it. Not coffee, the smell of wet, rotting wood and the ozone from the incessant drizzle. A sanitation truck rumbles past, splashing icy water onto the sidewalk near my feet. I don't move. Inside my chest, there's a physical tightness, a cold knot just behind my sternum. I remember seeing my old landlord, Mr. Henderson, a few weeks before the end. He wouldn't meet my eyes. 82%. That's the number of businesses that die, not from bad ideas, not from a lack of passion. They die because they run out of money. It's a quiet, private death, a slow suffocation you never see coming. By 2026, another 250,000 will fail for the exact same reason. The air in front of you will feel thick, hard to breathe. There's a specific taste that comes with this kind of failure. It tastes like cold coffee and copper, like panic. You stand to lose more than your savings. You stand to lose the person you thought you were going to be. I'm going to show you how to build the one thing that can save you, not a dream, a weapon. My name is Edward Blackwell. That number, 82%, it isn't just a statistic to me. It was my life. But I'm here because I survived, and what I learned in the wreckage is more valuable than any MBA. I'm here to give you the map.